Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So, I switched over to Telekinetics because I also wanted to do an update for Telekinetic Tips and Tricks Rotation Guide. Haven't done one of these since I think I was like level 21. I intended to do this Sage journey of every like 5 levels or so doing an update. And one, lost track of time, and two, there was a double EXP weekend, and I teamed up with a friend to try to grab a bunch of datacrons and do some leveling, and there was a major spike in my levels. Like I was about level 41 or so at the time, got sidetracked, and then shot up 10 levels very rapidly. But I figured 50, 51 is a decent stopgap, because that's about the time where you get Force Barrier, which is pretty cool. I like it. It's neat. So anyway, your starter is actually very similar to what you do for balance, where you start with Weakened Mind. Now, the reason why you want to start with Weakened Mind is because your next key ability is called Turbulence. Pardon me. And if you hit your Turbulence on a target that has Weakened Mind, it'll crit. And then that will proc an instant cast of Telekinetic Wave, which, as you can see here, does it show it? It doesn't. Telekinetic Wave has a cast time of 2.4 seconds. So, in PvE, if there's a mob standing over there, I'll take my time, charge it up, and I'll usually scream Kamehameha or something like that at the screen. It's a lot of fun. You should try it. But in a war zone, and I do a lot of PvP, opening up a fight by standing there for almost 3 seconds isn't the best or safest idea. Sometimes you can get away with it, but a lot of times you can't. The other part that gets a little tricky as far as timing is you have this ability called Telekinetic Gust, which lowers the activation time of your Mind Crush, as you see there in the tooltip. Mind Crush normally takes about 2 seconds, and this cuts it down. See there, 2 seconds even, cancel that. So if I hit the Gust, and then I go for it, 1.5, which is nice. 1.5 is just like, like Disturbance, or even your Turbulence. But that's more of an issue when you start to cycle back around in your rotation outside of the opening burst. And the opening burst is pretty sweet for telekinetics. That and, you're like shooting beams out of your hands, like Havoc from the X-Men or Goku from Dragon Ball Z and all that fun stuff. So, real quick, just to go through it. Well, actually, no, not real quick. I'm going to go through it slowly. Weakened Mind, Turbulence, and I actually like to hit my Force Potency in the first round through. That way that Telekinetic Wave will crit. Telekinetic Gust, Weakened Mind, Disturbance, then a Turbulence, back to a Telekinetic Wave. I'll throw a Project in there sometimes just as filler, and sometimes I'll hit the Gust. And that's where the timing comes in. I'll do a Disturbance, and another Turbulence, and Telekinetic Gust is still working, and I'll use it once the cooldown ends, and I can still hit that Telekinetic Wave. So the cooldown of Mind Crush and Telekinetic Gust don't line up perfectly. Fortunately, as you read that last sentence of the tooltip, Telekinetic Gust lasts for 12 seconds, so you can hit it, go back to the other stuff, throw a Project, throw a Disturbance, and then I can still hit it and get that lowered activation time, which is nice. It'll take a little bit of getting used to that part of the cycle, but it's basically, as you're getting used to it, what you'll be doing most likely is you'll be looking up at your target, using your hotkeys, glance down real quick, say, nope, it's not ready yet. I've got 3 or 4 seconds to go. I'll use a Disturbance as filler, and then go to your Turbulence once it's off of cooldown, Telekinetic Wave, because those are your major hits, and then go back to Mind Crush when you're able to. So the priorities, the way I play personally, is 1, try to keep your Weakened Mind on all the time, or at the very least, get in the habit of hitting that before you do your Turbulence, so you'll get that crit. And then, once you connect with that, hit your Telekinetic Wave. What I wind up doing a lot, the way I have my hotkeys set up, Turbulence and Telekinetic Wave are set to my F key and Shift F, respectively. So I'll hit Shift F, get that going, and then I'll just start tapping F once I see him starting to commit that animation. And so that way, once that global cooldown, or whatever it's called, is done, that telekinetic wave, I just let it fly. So at full speed, it should look a little something like this. Weaken Mind, Turbulence, Force Potency, Telekinetic Wave, hit the Gust, Mind Crush, Project Filler, Disturbance, and that lines up the cooldown here for Turbulence, Telekinetic Wave. And one quick note that I forgot to mention, what I found in my practice sessions and in war zones, if you hit your Weakened Mind and start to go through the rotation, what you'll probably notice is you'll have just enough time to get that second Turbulence in before it expires. See that? Just expired. So then after you get your Telekinetic Wave out, you can refresh Weakened Mind, do your Gust, do your Disturbance and all that stuff for your filler, get your Weakened Mind in, and there you go. I don't always do it in the exact same order after the first cycle is done. And again, that's because I'm trying to work out the timing between Turbulence. I want to use that once it's off of cooldown, and then Mind Crush once that's off of cooldown. And I try to use, ideally, to get Turbulence to set the proc for Telekinetic Wave, but that's just how I personally keep time. If your Disturbance sets it off, it's no big deal. And I don't recall what level it is exactly, but by the time you're 41 or so, if you start off with a Force Quake, that will also set off your Telekinetic Wave. So, which is actually handy for a place like a Void Star, where there's a bunch of people trying to plant a door and keep other people away from it. You can hit your Force Quake to try to stop everybody from trying to plant, and then follow that up with a Telekinetic Wave, which will damage people in the near area. And then, if you need to, you can go right back to your Force Quake. It's very handy for trying to keep people off of the doors in Void Stars. So yeah, that's pretty much everything. And yeah, like, I've been playing Balance, I enjoy it, but I always wind up coming back to Telekinetics, and I have so much fun with it. I just love shooting all these beams of energy and everything like that. I think it's a lot of fun. But, you know, different strokes for different folks. If you're enjoying something, stick with it. Nothing wrong with it. So yeah, I hope this little tips and tricks thing has been helpful for you. And yeah, hope you guys have some fun in war zones and doing flashpoints. And I'll see you all next time.